So, hi everyone. My name is Andrew Kim. I'm a senior enterprise program architect here at Data Meaning, and we have a wonderful panel here with us today. So, we have Paul Stark joining us from McKee Foods, as well as Jason Klein, subject matter expert over at Alteryx. And today we'll be discussing distribution network optimization with Alteryx and how organizations such as McKee are going through that journey and what opportunities you yourself can have with distribution network optimization as well as other supply chain use cases in this space. All right, and then when we're going through this, we're going to do just a brief introduction of distribution network optimization, right? And then from there, we'll open it up to a panel. And we've got a handful of questions already that we've gotten from LinkedIn that we can share with everyone. And then any questions that you all have, please feel free to throw them in the chat or in the Q&A section, and we'll field those as well. Awesome. And at this point, I'll hand it over to Jason, who can kick things off for us in terms of the discussion.
Hi, everyone. Jason Klein here, Director of Portfolio Marketing here at Alteryx. I've been at Alteryx for 6 years, and I'm going to walk you through what distribution network optimization means to our customers and tell you a little bit more about Alteryx along the way. So first, for those working within and managing supply chain and wondering what is distribution network optimization, how does it fit into your business? A high level definition is really that it helps with understanding the where and the how. So where are you going to put your distribution facilities and your distribution nodes, which can include things like distribution centers, warehouses, cross docks, cold storage facilities, and those are particularly important for industries like pharmaceuticals and food processing, and also the chemical industry. And then the second topic in distribution network and the analytics question is how should the goods flow through across the network? And so typical questions might be, how should you be changing your network if fuel prices increase? How can you accommodate rapid growth in a particular area or a particular segment? What happens if a major tariff hits in a particular region and we cannot distribute through that pathway anymore? So to sum up, distribution network optimization is concerned with the where and the how of how goods flow through your network. Yep. And there's a real competitive angle to doing this correctly. So for the folks who can do their distribution networks and really optimize them, they're going to get some cost leadership. They're going to get some cost advantages. They're going to find cost savings in how they get goods moving from A to B. That can be through lower warehousing costs, lower transportation costs. You're also going to see faster deliveries and service levels by being able to get goods to where they need to be faster and meeting those customer expectations for we want things now. You're going to be able to navigate the current climate, which is grappling with it with a few different trends right now. But there's a lot of risk in distribution right now. And so by optimizing your distribution network, you're going to be much more agile and be able to respond to changes quickly. And there could be an element of growth as well, finding new markets, finding new areas and new regions, and making sure you can get the goods to those regions and distribute them effectively certainly is going to fit into your competitive advantage. But the jobs for people doing distribution network optimization are under pressure every day. So there are a number of things happening on the cost side. There's transportation costs that need to be paid attention to. There's labor expenses that are increasing, and then there's warehousing elements that also need to be addressed. So warehousing costs can be going up, and one of the things happening right now is a lot of industries are actually stockpiling. A lot of industries are stockpiling inventory to get ahead of the tariffs that are impacting the industry. And so running out of warehouse space is a thing, and it's making warehousing more expensive. All right. There's also the trying to meet the consumer expectations of wanting faster delivery and needing products to be wherever they want them to be. And that can be through both online and physical channels. The geopolitical factors are causing a lot of headaches in distribution networks. So the tariffs are a big one. They are, we'll talk about that in a minute. They are impacting where goods should and should not flow through a distribution network. There are certain trade restrictions and just geopolitical tensions broadly. I think I've seen some articles about the Red Sea lately, having some of those issues. And sustainability continues to be an important uh, goal for companies. It's an expectation for companies these days. And so part and parcel to that is doing things like your ESG reporting effectively, reducing your emissions, and also just streamlining your delivery routes and using less um, CO2 in the process. So I want to dig into uh, one or two of these and really nail these and talk about how they're causing headaches and challenges for supply chain teams doing distribution network optimization. And the news of the day is tariffs. Every time I take out my phone and look at look at the latest headlines, there's usually something about tariffs hitting the market. So this slide is pretty out of date. It's been moving really, really quickly. But to give a quick overview, is that the U.S. announced tariffs against imported goods from Mexico, Canada, and China. And so any goods traveling through those countries or from those countries are going to be impacted. So that sent manufacturers and retailers alike scrambling. Um, those were paused, but only for a month. And then there were additional tariffs on things like chips and metals and aluminum and steel, which was announced a week later. And so what these are creating is a lot of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity in the market that manufacturers are having to reevaluate and particularly reevaluate them for distribution network optimization. And there's lots of news articles out there showing that companies are indeed grappling with this. And there's a couple here. Excuse me. You see the announcement in orange on the left, and these are all news headlines from February and March, showing how different companies and different industries are responding. So we just talked about aluminum and steel tariffs. Well, Coca-Cola, they're going to be changing their distribution by way of using more plastic instead of aluminum as they distribute their soda and syrup. We see companies like Hasbro, who's taking the approach of moving goods away and moving production away from China. Well, if you're moving production away from China, you also have to update the distribution because now they're coming from a different location. Uh, a similar story with Stanley Black and Decker, and then with Canada, they are removing U.S. alcohol in Ontario specifically. They're moving U.S. alcohol from their shelves. So for all those U.S. alcohol producers distributing their goods to Ontario, those plans are going to need an update. Route them somewhere else in order to protect those revenues. So there's lots of headache happening due to these really significant changes impacting distribution networks. Um, and so the companies who are going to be able to navigate these tariffs the best are the ones who are going to have the analytics agility to come up with data-driven solutions and data-driven recommendations quickly, because this market is these tariffs are happening quickly. There's changes almost on a daily basis. So being able to be agile in your analytics is going to be a key differentiator. And so the SMB segment, the folks who are less well equipped, they're going to be particularly hard hit with these tariffs, and that's what we're seeing in the news. But there is some hope out there, and the hope comes by way of some of the new capabilities with AI and Gen AI. So in supply chain, there's lots of promise. So 2/3 of chief supply chain officers are saying Gen AI is going to be completely transformative, and that they're going to be able to uh, double their revenue. So huge promises with AI, but there's also some challenges with that. And so Gartner in the middle has identified some of the key use cases in supply chain, and these indeed impact distribution networks. So inventory optimization, where is your inventory? How much do you have at different locations? Predictive ETA, so predicting when things will arrive. Demand forecasting, how much demand do we need for a particular product in a particular region? at a particular distribution center to meet the customer needs in there. Um, and then the Gartners also, and I think rather smartly, identified that while these supply chain use cases are also ripe for AI, the first thing you need to do is clean your data and make it AI ready. And that's really where Alteryx shines and provides a lot of capability in terms of getting data ready for AI, but not just AI, getting data ready for BI, getting ready for machine learning, getting ready for reporting automation. All the first step is having good quality data, and that's where Alteryx shines. And that's in fact why so many manufacturers around the world are relying on Alteryx to do just that. So Alteryx serves 8 of the top 10 food services companies, 8 of the top 10 automotive and industrial manufacturing companies, and 9 of the top 10 CPG companies are using Alteryx. And the reason why they are turning to Alteryx is because Alteryx is really the best combination of being a powerful data and analytics solution and also being easy to use. So let me break that down a little bit. So here's a screenshot of one of our products, Designer. It's our desktop product for doing data preparation and analytics. And what you'll immediately notice is that it's very visual. Um, and it doesn't require the user to know how to code. It can be completely code free. And so that's the first thing that makes Alteryx really easy to use, is that anybody who can use a mouse and point and click can use Alteryx. You'll see that it's really great at bringing different data sources together. So as you think about distribution, you might need to be bringing in weather data. That's some external data. You'll also need to be bringing in data from your warehouse management system. You might need to be bringing data from your ERP system as well. Alteryx is a really great solution for bringing those data sets together and harmonizing them quickly and easily. Another thing that makes us really valuable, and especially for folks trying to do some of these data processes in Excel, is once you build the process, you're off to the races. You don't need to keep building it over and over again. Even if your data set changes, you can point the workflow to the updated data set, hit the run button, or schedule it to run automatically. And you've just automated your entire process, no rebuilding. You'll notice at the bottom, you can kind of see your data moving and changing as the workflow goes from left to right. This is really important for improving the data quality as you go from the data access, where you're starting on the left, to where the workflow goes on the right, where you're outputting. So you can ensure data quality throughout the process. And that's going to be really important for those AI use cases that I mentioned. And I touched on this a minute ago, but the ability to automate and schedule these workflows delivers massive ROI. It means that analysts can actually go home at night and go on vacation because they know when the next file comes in, they can rerun this workflow automatically. And then the other benefit is that it's really visual. It lets uh, the person building the workflow show their work to their colleague, to their manager, or even to someone in a colleague or a stakeholder in their distribution network to show how they arrived at the results. So it's very visual, it's very fast to interpret, and these are some of the reasons that make Alteryx, really, really easy to use, but also very, very powerful. And we have Paul here talking about McKee Foods, but we've got some other customers using Alteryx for their distribution network. So here's Miller Knoll. They use Alteryx because they were having trouble identifying opportunities at their distribution centers. They were unable to optimize them, and it was giving them some increased costs. But by using Alteryx, they found some pretty fast time to value and some impressive ROI, saving 300K in annualized cost of goods sold, and 60K of that came from one of their very first workflows with Alteryx. So that's what I mean by a powerful tool, um, providing real business value for distribution network optimization teams. And then I do want to highlight again how AI can be used with just within the Alteryx platform. So on the left, you're seeing an Alteryx workflow. It's a predictive inventory workflow, so predicting how much inventory you're going to need at a particular place in your distribution network. You're using the designer here to clean your data, to get data prep recommendations. You're building a predictive model within Alteryx, And you also see all the annotations here. You can now, with Alteryx, annotate automatically the workflow. And that helps with that collaboration element. But now with Alteryx, with our Auto Insights product, you can take it to the next level and actually build some dashboards and reports with just a few clicks. So on the right, you've built your workflow, and now you're building a what we call a playbook, and this is for improving distribution efficiency. So this came right out of the box with Alteryx Auto Insights. I generated this report with just a couple clicks, and you can see on the bottom here how interactive it is. You can click in and dive deeper into really what's causing these the dynamics that you're seeing in the market. So it gets you drilled down um, into the
Yeah.
for your analytics.
Jason, what's crazy with this is I was actually just on site with a client in Atlanta. Uh, was that that was yesterday? And whenever I was on site with them, literally they even had a publicly available data source on trade information, and they were asking, "Hey, can we get some of the insights that could be added into a PowerPoint presentation for our leadership. That way they're not having to comb and scrape through the data." This was on like Mexico and Canada trade with the US
Hmm.
because they do like some 3PL related things. And then what was interesting as well with that is they said, hey, that would be great if we could just marry that data set with ours, right? And then kind of show directionally with root cause analysis and time series where we may feel some of the impacts related to macroeconomic causes, right?
Hmm.
And the ability to do that with, I mean, again, I think there was like 6 tools on the canvas, was really awesome.
Yeah, yeah, very relevant, very cool stuff.
Oh,
And that's one of the benefits of, Auto Insights. It can build your reports as we're seeing here, but it's also a really good tool for, uploading your data and having Auto Insights tell me what analytics I can build off of it. So it has some cool identify your next use case sort of capabilities baked into it.
yes. Yeah, the new report feature is really cool. I like that one.
And so, yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about from Alteryx and introducing the topic of distribution network optimization, what's happening in the market, how companies are responding, and the role that analytics can play in helping you navigate those challenges. So now we have Paul here from McKee Foods, who's in the trenches using Alteryx in his day to day, doing really cool things. And uh, I don't know if it's Paul or Andrew, if you want to uh, talk next, but I think we have the workflow up. So Paul, do you want to take us a minute and walk through what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so I've been at McKee for about 6 years as well, and I've been using Alteryx pretty much the entire time here. And what I have up here is one of the kind of keystone workflows at McKee, or at least in our sales department, where that kind of solidified Alteryx use for our team. This was kind of like a moonshot view where we're trying to figure out, can we just automate some of this reporting? Because a lot of our analysts, when they go to talk to retailers, they have to go through all of their Nielsen data and get presentations ready to go, and it takes about a 2-hour process. So when I presented to our manager at the time, she wasn't really sure that I could do it, but she said, "Sure, why not?" And within about 2 to 3 weeks, we were able to get at least a version 1 done. It's just a simple Word doc output, but it proved that the process was viable. So as we move on down the slide, just kind of showing through the steps, um, it's nothing too crazy simple or just basic tools. This is all from just standard Alteryx. And with that, we went through to about 5 generations over the course of about 6 to 7 months. And then at the end, we're able to produce a 16-page presentation-ready document that is able to be ran in about 45 seconds to a minute. That replace that entire 2-hour process to where they can just hit run on the Alteryx workflow, and then we're able to show that we're up to about 30 retailers. So we have this process ready to go for. So saving about anywhere from 30 to 40 hours a week on average, and been really, really cool. Really excited to use this system. And if we have time later, I can even show the workflow because it's just fun. And then as we go through the next ones, we're still developing our process, and we're starting to develop in the data maturity uh, line graph that's always shown. We're really excited about the potential. We just got the data pack for demographics and a lot of the Experian data, and we're starting to get into what really drives sales in our markets, and starting to get from the reporting of like what happened and how's everything been going into, all right, what can we do next to really take advantage of? Because as mentioned, these tariffs and just economic situation in general has made the market really tough, especially for our market. So we're trying to do everything we can to make sure we're staying as competitive and being as proactive as possible. And there's some really exciting opportunities we're getting into. And as we just keep pushing forward, we're going to keep doing our best, and we're really excited about the partnership with everyone at Alteryx and Data Meeting.
Hey, Paul, can I ask a couple quick questions?
Yeah.
All right. So the first question I have is, can you talk about how the tariffs are impacting McKee Foods? Is it in the materials that you're using to make all your delicious treats?
Yeah, and it's affecting everybody. Of course, we're going to get the the standards, your flours, your sugar, and various other ingredients. But really, what's hitting us really hard right now is the egg prices, especially with we're expecting another wave of the flu because it's usually a lot worse in the spring. So seeing it hit in the winter was kind of scary, and now we're just getting ready for the next wave. See how high they go. But it's just part of the challenges. Got to keep in and figure it out as we go. But it's definitely a concern, and doing our best to adapt.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll pull through. And the next question I have is, as I'm looking at the workflows, even this one, I see a lot of similar tools on the canvas. Is that accurate? Are you only using a few of the tools, but using them in like creative and powerful ways?
Yeah, that's one of the really cool things about Alteryx is you can use it. You can use a lot of tools in a lot of different ways. If you get comfortable with just like 5 or 6 tools, the amount of results or processes you can drive with just those simple set of tools is really incredible. Like if you get familiar with the input, formula, summary, you can just do wonders.
Yeah, those favorites, and like this tells you how old and geeky I am, but you can literally see here I've got this is the here I'll unblur it, but I've got the Alteryx periodic table of tools here,
Yeah.
and the ones that Paul's literally talking about are right here at the top, and these are actually ranked based off of usage. So like as you kind of work your way down, right, that tells you again like uh, how radioactive you can be in terms of your your solutions, right? So it can really make it fun and enjoyable, and it's a great way of learning from the community.
And then I see one more use case here. Paul, do you want to walk through this one? Because this one I believe is the one that touches on distribution most directly.
Yeah, and this is where we're getting into more of that predictive understanding our market, and then enriching our data with the data pack resource. And what we're doing is trying to get into our individual for our field sales team. They support the wholesale distributors. So we, as McKee Foods, we sell our branded products to wholesale distributors, who then take the product to market at various retailers in their area. So what we're trying to help our field sales team do is to better understand the markets so that they can better support those wholesale distributors, because the more those wholesale distributors can sell them key branded products, the more we can sell as well. So it's a great partnership we're able to build there, but just trying to help dive into what really drives different factors in various parts of the country. So we're still pretty early in our process here, but so far it looks like we're going to have some exciting results, and we're going to just keep digging in.
Yeah, and I think there's some pretty interesting stuff when it comes to uh, distribution network optimization in general. Like, so we've done some use cases where literally we have the demand sensing aspects with marketing, and we'll use some regressionary analysis to predict what the likelihood of sale is going to be there. So propensity style modeling, right? And then from there, we've even used out of stock monitoring and like OTIF, right? You were touching a little bit on that, Jason, in terms of the ETA predictability. That's huge in the space right now. Everybody trying to figure out, hey, are my orders actually going to show up on time, or are they going to be stuck at the ports? What is it? What's that going to look like? So I don't necessarily run out of stock, but I don't end up with a bunch of inventory on hand. We have a client that we work with in the manufacturing space who has deals with large equipment, right? And with that large equipment, they figured out that they have roughly like $1.3 billion, that's B with a billion, in on-hand inventory. And what's crazy with that is they're like, we don't understand all the things that we have, right? And we're not sure, like either someone's going in and adding a new item code for SAP. It could even be like simple things like bolts, right? And then when they're looking at those, they're saying, hey, we need more of those, right? Not realizing there's similarly related products that exist there. And that's where we're starting to see some creativity in the space, even with AI within Alteryx, right? So you've got a combination where we're doing some image recognition and combining with models to like look at physical products and look for similarities to see if they are in fact the same one. And then even the names. So like in this instance, we're helping Paul with kind of lining up some of the names of locations and client names. That's under the, if you ever want to look that up and get a little geeked out, that's named entity recognition, right? And those, there's some cool tools within the Alteryx Intelligence Suite, which can literally do that with the Spacey library. You can use what we're doing here, which is CAS. So that basically gives you CAS and Dun and Bradstreet give you that source of truth. So you're aligning with that. And then there's even some cool tools from the Gen AI suite that we'll see coming out here shortly. They're in beta right now, where you can initiate a large language model and then even have that help look at some words. And that could even be like product names. Like product names are horrible, right, Paul, in terms of making sure that they're lined up. If you're working with Luminate or what is that, 8451, right? Other platforms, you can basically take those, and even if you process it and not necessarily go through and clean up the names, but if you're looking for that dictionary reference, that's been a great use for some of that. So puts us in a really good spot for setup here. And then I do see a couple questions kind of coming in here as well. So one of them relates to what some easy use cases that we can start off with whenever you're new to Alteryx in supply chain. Paul, what do you have any that you would share that are like, what was some of your either your first use case that you started using Alteryx with, or one that you would recommend that's really easy to do? And then Jason, you want to share some of yours as well?
Sure.
Yeah, so one of the starter ones that we did on our side, since we're mostly sales focused, was getting a lot of data from the various data brokers we work with. Previously, we had to get those downloaded in Excel and then format them and just keep working with the Excel files just to make them so that they can be read by the various BI tools, Tableau, Power BI, whatever. And so get the data to display correctly. But instead of doing that, we just started leveraging Alteryx as the ETL tool to just, we download, throw it in a folder, and then pull bulk inload that entire stack, and made the process way simpler. That's a great starter set, and it can save you hours of work very, very quickly. So that I always recommend whatever you can do to get out of Excel. It's a great tool. It holds up the economy, but the more we can do outside of Excel, the faster we can run.
Yeah. And then Jason. Yeah.
I'll echo that. Anything you're doing in Excel, Excel's great for a few things. There's organize your stuff use cases, still great for that, but there's also, analytics use cases. If you're doing those sorts of things, consider moving over to Alteryx to start automating those processes and getting away from the risks of doing anything manual like that. Some of my first use cases in working with Alteryx were building TAM models and building forecasting models to see how big is a market, pulling in lots of data about the demographic data that Paul was mentioning, and then some other Gartner data like as published by Gartner on uh, software market sizes, bringing that all together. And the great thing is it's way more scalable than Excel. So I was having Excel crash a lot. I was waiting for a lot of VLOOKUPs to run. Those nightmares have now ended.
Yeah, I think it's crazy to see um, how again that has transformed things. Um, being able to go through and see like starting with Excel, right? All the simple examples that you can use, and even again, just the data cleansing that you're doing. I remember, Paul, like you're talking about getting those files. This is a big time throwback, but I worked for a vitamin company that did a lot of e-com. And literally what we were doing is we would go out before the trade shows and we would download all the promotions. And then we would also get um, all of the inventory that they had available. So some of the distributors like McKee Foods, right? If you're familiar with them, as well as Cisco, etc. And then what we would do is we would literally scrape Amazon back when they would let you really do some good scraping. So they would release all their the rankings for the products, and we would literally go through and then do the demand forecasting actually based off of the sales ranking in Amazon, and it worked pretty well. So our goal with that, I don't share this very often, which is it was essentially to do arbitrage because we would go and we would ask the suppliers, we'd be like, hey, what terms do you have? If we've got 90 days, we would basically forecast out what our sales volume could look like and then reference that to the discounts volumes that we would have at the trade shows, and we would try and get that going and cycled up so then we could get maximum discount, right? Push it through as quickly as possible and then know that we were basically making free money. So really fun stuff, right? And what's crazy is that starts out with like simple problems. Like some of them were, um, what does it cost to package something, right? So literally we just put the referential tables in there, Jason, like you're talking about, just Excel. And then I just wanted it to do some simple addition and multiplication, right? But I wanted it to just be an app where someone could go in, write the stuff, and it would do all the calculations, and we could run those on the fly and then figure out how to scale it later. So it's really cool. Yeah. And then I do see one other question, which is, um, what use cases do you see this next year being the most promising for you, Paul, in terms of supply chain?
Yeah, so I think just keep diving into the predictive and prescriptive capabilities that you can leverage in Alteryx. the big use cases we're looking at is using data pack to identify market opportunities that are wholesale, that the our field sales can help encourage the wholesale distributors that they're working with. Maybe find store locations they're not servicing currently, or various opportunities that just might be falling through the cracks. So that way they can better support the wholesale distributors, increasing their sales that way. We're also looking at, again, always trying to figure out forecasting for sales, make sure we have enough product to the field, because we do have a short time frame. Typically, when a wholesale distributor orders, we can get the product out in about 3 days, but the product's always best fresh, so it can't just sit out there for months and months on end. So trying to make sure we get the demand as accurate as we can and to the field, so it's the freshest possible, best product available. And we're trying to zero in on that, and that's where we're going to be focusing probably the most for the next year or so. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I've had it fresh from the factory, and I tell you what, it's amazing. I'm glad that I don't live that close. Otherwise, I'd probably have a few more pant sizes uh, room on me. And then Jason, I know that as we're kind of talking about use cases, we should definitely have everyone following you on LinkedIn or following Alteryx, right? Because you've got some good supply chain use cases coming up here in the next couple months. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Yeah, we're going to be looking at things like demand planning and forecasting. We're going to be looking at inventory management. We're going to be looking at supplier risk management and distribution as well, taking a closer look there. So yeah, we're doing a lot in the supply chain space and building out solutions for supply chain professionals.
Awesome. Awesome. And I think that's all the questions that I see. I know we're a little under time, but if you guys have more questions and would like to reach out to us, I know that they're going to be sharing out this recording. Please feel free to reach out to any of us directly or on LinkedIn. And then if you are following us via Data Meeting, if you just add us on any of the posts, feel free to ask some questions there, and we'd be happy to follow up with you. Awesome. And Paul and Jason, thank you for joining us here today. And we're really excited to continue the conversation in the coming months. And we hope to see all of you at Inspire if you're going to be there.
Thank you very much.
I'll be there. See you all soon.
Cheers.
See ya.